Hello, book connectors. Welcome back to the Book Connection. I am your host, Blue Eyed Black Devil, and I am here with a follow up or response to the video I posted Wednesday, just a couple of days ago. And the subject matter was about Alzheimer's. Now, some of you seem to, well, you didn't have to look or guess really hard. I actually mentioned them. I talked a little bit about my grandmother and my uncle. But here's a little that I didn't say in that other video. Or at least I don't think I did, but both of these are on my mother's side of the family, because not only was that her mother and brother that passed with it, we had a family reunion back in July of last year, 2025, where we found out that one of my mother's older first cousins had been diagnosed back in like March or April of last year. And this same particular cousin's older brother, she's 81, but then she has an 87-year-old brother who has been diagnosed with it. I think he's had it now for a couple of years. Now, like I said, that's all on my mom's side. Now, my dad's side, my great aunt has it. She will be, God willing, she'll be 87 in February. But here's the puzzling part. Her son just turned 58 in July of 2025. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 57 years old. So it gets younger and younger. And here's another vexing thing for me. My father, who is deceased, but he didn't die from Alzheimer's, he had a photostatic memory. He did. If he ever saw it or read it, he never ever forgot it. He could tell you down to the date and this, that, and the other. And I just figure, I'm always looking for polar opposites, and then I'm surprised when they happen. I was puzzled at how young my uncle was when he was diagnosed. I said in the video he was 68, and he was. And he died like 3 weeks before he would have turned 76. So he was actually 75 when he died. My grandmother was 85, and she was 91 when she died. So they both lived 7 years past the diagnosis. And now with my two older cousins, they're in their 80s. Only time will tell how, and that goes for anybody as far as that goes. None of us know when the end comes. But I do look at, like on my dad's side, I was puzzled by his memory. It is almost as if he got all the memory. And then his nephew, so to speak, God forbid me. I don't mean to say that word. I ain't trying to offend nobody. But my cousin, he got robbed of his memory at a premature age. And I didn't mention in that video about when I was going on the 4 stages of Alzheimer's. But there also is something that is called early onset Alzheimer's. And that's what my 58-year-old cousin has. He's been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. Now, his mother also had it, but like I said, she's 86. And if I had to sit here and discuss, I would dare say, well, I'm just going to tell it, this is what went through my mind one time. When she first was diagnosed, she was meeting all of the things we know about Alzheimer's victims. She she couldn't follow conversation through, which was weird because she loved to talk. She loves to talk, but she couldn't follow through a conversation. She didn't necessarily start repeating herself that much, but she did this kind of, she went quiet. She went quiet, and then if she said something, if it is a simple yes or no, she's pretty right about that, but her behaviors let us know, because when I said modesty goes out the window, she would be a prime example of that going out the window. But she's doing so well. I mean, at one point, I was beginning to wonder if she had been misdiagnosed. But my oldest daughter works at Walmart, and she came home one night and said, Mama, I saw, she was naming my cousin and her mother, which is my aunt. She said they came in Walmart. She said, you know what we call my aunt Shug. She said, you know what Shug asked me? I said, She said, your mama get ready to have a baby, ain't she? I said, well, what did you tell me? She said, my little sister's 18. No, man, she not having a baby. But then she said she followed it up with, I don't know why I thought she was pregnant. And so I'm like, well, yeah, I guess the doctors might have been right. The very thought of me having a baby now. But so, yes, those are things. And I'm going to also say this. If you are fortunate enough not to have experienced someone or care for a loved one who has this, understand anytime you hear someone who may not have it, or they may be talking about a family member or whatever, like I just got through talking about her and I laughed because it was funny. But with Alzheimer's, this is the one disease that I honestly feel like if you do not laugh, you will cry forever. I sometimes wonder if I was closer to my grandmother than either one of her kids, and she was very close with all of her kids. But, and growing up and stuff, y'all, if you hear somebody yelping or barking, that's my daughter's dog, Rocco. Yeah, but like I was saying, I was close to my grandparents, especially my grandmother. And when we found out that she had it, to some degree, it was a relief because it made all of the stuff that we noticed that she had started doing, it made more sense. The repetition, the doing things that she typically did not do. Or if she did do them, like one time it said something in the book about they tend to forget routines, things they had done their whole life. From my experience, sometimes, we all are creatures of habit. We lose some things, but whatever it is we do seem to hold on to, we hold on to it. Now, like the lady Lauren was saying about her mom, her house was like house beautiful, great cook. My grandmother was all of that and then some. When she got down to like the latter stages, according to this book, I would say, when she got down to maybe like stage 2, well, wait a minute now. Stage 1 is the early phase. Okay, so yeah, I think and I called my grandmama mama, so I usually have to differentiate because I call my mama too. But anyway, when my grandmother got right where she didn't recognize us by name or face, that was bad and sad. And at the end, my mother was the one taking care of her mother. She was the only one of her siblings that lived here in Alabama. And so I helped out, and we all did. My husband helped out. We all did what we had to do. But, buddy, in as much as I cried, I feel like I deserve to laugh because those memories are few and far between. And I left this out in the book, in the video the other day. But like when Laura's mother, when we ever knew anything at the very beginning of the book, we knew that her mother did not recognize her by name or face. So, one Christmas season, she was cooking. She said her older two children were in the den playing with their train. And she said her youngest one, which is the little girl Lizzie, she was taking a nap. So she and her mother was in the den with the children. But I am assuming it was like an open area so you can be in the kitchen to see what's going on in the den or wherever. So everybody could see each other. She said she and her husband were in the kitchen talking and just cooking. And then the boys are playing with their tray set. And the mom, first she was like, I'm cold. So Lauren goes and gets a throw and drapes it across her lap. She goes back in the kitchen. She was in there for just a short period of time. And then her mother started hollering, hey, lady. They stopped. Hey, lady. She never did say that. She said her and her husband looked at each other. And then her mom went, hey, lady, oh, lady, oh, lady, lady, hey, lady. Shut up, Rocco. You ain't even supposed to be in this video. And she said her and her husband looked at each other and just cracked up laughing. Okay. If you haven't dealt with the person hands-on, it may appear that she was making fun of her mother, but believe you me, I know that is simply not the case. You may see us laughing, but you're not there when the tears are shed, when the sadness creeps in, when, even every now and then my grandmother would have a moment of clarity. But as soon as you get that thought out of your mouth or your mind, she'll let you know, oh yeah, it is what it is. And in her case, for some reason, we already know she didn't recognize any of her children anymore. But she just took it upon herself to start calling my mama the house lady. You can go through there and say, Mama, I think Mama such and such, meaning I think my grandmother, and I may say something. And then Mama get up and go see what's going on. But if you don't know she needs something, and she comes down through there, she'll be like, hey, where's the house lady? You're like, who? The house lady, you know. Mama, won't you? That is just amazing to me that she couldn't remember her daughter's name. But she knew she was connected to her son. She knew she was connected to her somehow. And she just gave her another title, house lady. you know, house lady. The one. And then I'm like, okay. And then every now and then, my mom might go to she had to go to the store. But my younger sister was there with my mama and her mama. And so she said one day she was up in the front of the house doing something. And my grandmama came up there. And my mama had left word for my grandmama to not wash dishes, because we learned over time that, you know, growing up, and even after her kids got grown and gone, and she was a great grandmom at this time, but growing up, she'd always cooked and immediately washed dishes after everybody ate. The kitchen would be spick and span. And you knew you weren't going back in there to get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or nothing. You just ate dinner. So she had told my sister not to let her wash dishes. And the reason she told her that is because it dawned on her 2 weeks earlier. She couldn't understand why she had to fix my grandmama 3 different breakfasts. She couldn't understand why she had to fix mama 3 different breakfasts. She said, you know, she kept saying, I knew I had cooked. And I sat there and she ate. But time I went up there in my bedroom and started doing such and such and such, I'm smelling bacon or sausage or whatever. She got down through there. And she was like, Mama, you're going to have to leave the stove alone. Blah, blah. She said, I had breakfast. And my mama I think it took her forever today to accept it. I think she thought she had. But I know she hadn't. Because one of the things when you have accepted it, you know you can't necessarily reason with them. And it might have been literally within the last 5 days of her life, my mama stopped trying to reason with her. So when she went in there that first time and had to get her off the stove, she just went on and cooked. She said she cooked some sausage and some toast. And I think she said she gave her coffee. That's what it was, sausage and toast and coffee. But the reason my grandmother kept, she just felt like she hadn't had anything to eat. And Mom just going to keep standing there. Mom, I just cooked you breakfast. You're not going to make me believe you done forgot that you done already had breakfast. But she cooked that breakfast 3 times in a row. So when she went to the doctor to take my grandmother to the doctor, she told the doctor about it. And he just nodded his head, but he didn't say anything. And it had to dawn on her. Oh, you know what? She said Mama went back to when she was growing up, where, you know, you clean the kitchen up. And since the kitchen was clean when she went in there, she just assumed it was because she hadn't eaten. She thought it was clean because it had been cleaned up since dinner time the day before. But the kitchen was clean because I washed dishes after she ate. So she had told my sister not to let her go in there and clean that kitchen up. She said, because I'm not cooking breakfast when I come back. So she said my grandmama went in there in the kitchen. She heard those glasses rattling and those pots and stuff. She said she never did turn the stove on, but she went in there and she kept saying, Grandmama, come on in here and sit with me for a while. My grandma didn't really have much for females. She was always somewhere flirting. If it was a man, she'll give a woman the blues, but a man can come and say the exact same thing. She'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, all righty. But we couldn't get her. Lady said she could not get my grandmama, to come and sit down until she said, well, I tell you what, I'm not going to keep trying to make you come in here and sit down. I'm just going to be up front. So when house lady gets back, she can see for herself what you did. She said my grandmama got somewhere and sat down and didn't move a muscle till my mama came. So although she didn't know my mother's name, her daughter's name anymore, she knew house lady was somebody that she would be in trouble with or whatever. And then it's also hard. You know, they tell you, doctors, sometimes you may have to restrain them depending on what it is they do. And that's something my mama might as well never have done because she would not tie it tight enough so that my grandmother would have had to fight her way out of it. One time she told my grandmama, my mom only did it. I was there one time she did it. And I heard about it one other time. But the time that I was there, my mama was trying to, I think, put Christmas decorations up or something. But every few minutes, she was having to go get my grandmama out of stuff. So she sat her down and she put the little restraints on. And my grandmama gonna say, you can go right ahead and restrain me. I'm just gonna get right back out of it. And pretty much, from the time Mama turned her back to go back to whatever she was doing, there my grandmama was. She was just she was a lively person. Yeah, that's also one of the saddest things is to me. People, it's been, at least in my family, and my husband's grandmother, she also had it. But his grandmother and my grandmother were probably two of the liveliest people I will ever know. They were just funny. They were no nonsense. They had dry wit, quick-witted, and they were just like, I just had never seen. And watch all of that disappear. Watch all of that, in my grandmother's case, wither away. It's sad. And so anytime you non-Alzheimer's people who don't know of or have ever been around a person who has Alzheimer's, always keep in mind, if they laugh, if you see them laugh, before you say that's not funny, try, and 4 times try to believe that's just what you saw. You're not there behind closed doors when the lights goes off, when it's time to bathe, when it's time to give them medicine, sometimes when it's time to feed them. Those are things that we choose not to necessarily discuss sometimes because people just don't seem to believe that all of this. Sorry about that. I accidentally dropped this phone. But yeah, I think people just always want to look at Alzheimer's as being a burden to the caregivers. And sometimes it is. But a lot of times you know that a loved one was once taking care of you. And you just don't, it's just hard for us to see that. But it happens. And I think sometimes people don't really talk about it because they don't want outsiders to feel like you're complaining. But if you can laugh, if you only knew that the same person is sitting here laughing about something a loved one did, whether you were there or not, you just need to understand that they were. And so, it's okay. It's okay sometimes to just laugh. That's just another memory to go along with all of the other bad, sad, and negative memories. Just go ahead. And you feel better when you do that, just like you feel better after you have a good cry. Okay, so let me see. What else was I wanting to say about Alzheimer's? I guess pretty much that's it. Yes, like I say, I don't understand why my uncle got it such. Okay, so he was 68 and my grandmother was 85. So that's what? Let me see. About 17 years. She was Alzheimer's free for 17 years longer than her son was when he came down with it. He was 68 and died at age 75. So, in some ways, we know all of that is characteristic-wise. There's no certain time for this or that to occur. Because I look at, on my dad's side, my cousin, who's a year younger than me, he was diagnosed at 57. So that makes him 11 years younger than my uncle was when he was diagnosed. But like I say, my cousin at 57 was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. And my uncle, he just had Alzheimer's. They didn't give... But, I think, let me see. Yeah, he was still in stage 1 to 2 where he was diagnosed. So, all of that, I think about that. Those are questions that are not lost on me. And then, like I say, the whole memory issue is it is baffling when it comes to my dad and then his family. I don't know. My mom must just been attracted to real smart people because my stepdaddy had that same thing. I don't care if it happened when he was 18 months or 180. He could tell you down to the way it was written. Oh, wow. It just was. But it's possible. I know it's possible. But I don't think there are any statistics out there to say how likely that is that you can have a photostatic or photographic memory and have a loved one to develop early onset Alzheimer's in the same family. But anyway, that's that on that. I just wanted to come and chit-chat about that and tell you all just, if you do know of or have family members who have it, the best thing for you to do is to walk away if you cannot accept that that person is no longer the person you once knew. All right, with all of that being said, book connectors, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want you all to have a wonderful weekend, the first one of the new year. Or is it the second one? Yeah, it's the second one. Sure is. So this is the second Friday of the new year. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe. And book connectors, remember this, as long as there are books around, there is always something to read. And until we read again, book connectors, please, please, please be safe out there. Enjoy yourselves. And God bless.